Well, it's a beautiful day, Neil. We're in your garden. Sun is shining. We're under this wonderful tree. And we're here to talk about a charity that's very close to your heart.
Indeed.
Well, I wonder if, first of all, for the sake of those watching, if you could introduce your full name and what this project is that we're talking about.
Okay, my name is Neil Kirkham. I'm a retired minister. I was in Llandudno and Penrhyn Bay and Junction. And the particular charity is called Way of Hope, based in Hungary. It was founded in 1989 with the fall of communism by Zoltan and Eva Szilágyi. Sadly, Zoltan has now gone to be with the Lord. And it's their son Cornell and his wife Ruth that have carried the work on. It's a small-scale Christian mission reaching out particularly to young people, but it also does work in the women's refuges in around Hungary, particularly in Budapest. They've gone into a number of orphanages there, one of which was they took us to when we went over, and actually featured on an investigative programme by Stacey Dooley.
Oh yeah,
she called on it. I think she made it out to be a little worse than it really was, but there we are. And our involvement began because we had two members, John and Joyce Martin, who had a daughter, Ruth. Sadly, Ruth died of cancer at the age of 46, but Ava was her pen friend in Hungary, and Ava kept the link with John and Joyce.
So the connection between North East Wales and Hungary was essentially a pen friend relationship.
Yeah, that's how it began. And Ava came over to visit John and Joyce, so they brought her down to church and told me a bit about her. And I said, well, look, do you want to share with the congregation a little about the work that you do? And she said that they do camps in Britain. And I said, well, have a look around the premises here and see if this is suitable.
Yeah.
It was. So the following year, they brought 24 young people from Hungary and we did a Bible camp. They had an American evangelist, Gary, leading it, and they made all the arrangements. And that's how the connection began. So for a number of years, we hosted these groups from Hungary. And we went over there. Cornell took us to one of the orphanages, to the women's refuge. So we saw a little of what they did there.
So for those of us who don't know what this is, Neil, describe what Way of Hope is in terms of its, in Hungary, what it looks like.
It's a very small scale Christian mission. It was originally Gabonabag, which is grain of wheat in Hungarian, sponsored from Switzerland. That relationship changed, and it's mainly sponsored by American Baptists and by churches in this country. There's one up in Scunthorpe, there's one down in Dover that's very much involved. But they, as I say, they'll do days in the orphanages where they take gifts for the children, play games, and give them the gospel message.
Okay. Yeah.
The same in the women's refuges. But every year they'll do half a dozen week-long camps, Monday to Friday. It's Cornell who organises it. He's got a minibus, and he depends very much on that to take all the equipment round.
Wow.
And he has contacts with local, mainly Baptist churches, who will say, come to us and do a camp. We'll get the kids, we'll invite them in, but you come and run the camp for us. And he's built up these relationships all across Hungary. They did used to go into Ukraine.
Yeah.
But obviously that's a
things have changed.
non-starter now.
Yeah.
And they used to go into Serbia.
Because Hungary is it's sandwiched in the middle of Central Europe, isn't it, when I think of it?
Yes. Yeah, to the east of Austria, but yeah, southwest of Ukraine.
Yeah.
Poland, Czechoslovakia, up to the north.
So it's a, as I understand it, Neil, it's a mixture of working with orphanages and other, kind of other charities or causes that work with families and children, but it also, and churches, but it also does this kind of quite intensive work with young people.
Yes. Yeah.
And runs half a dozen camps a year, I think you're
Yes.
saying.
We went over last year, Pam and I, and helped out with 2 of the camps, one in Dunavarshain, again a local Baptist minister whose wife works in the school, so she arranged it for the school to host it, and we had 60 children. We had 3 leaders from Britain. One is an American who works in London, Angela, Tim, who works up in around Scunthorpe, and we divided it up into age groups. So Pam and I looked after the middle age group, and I did the Bible studies in the morning, but then they'll go out and they'll do exercises, but to Christian music. So they're teaching them to dance and do all the actions to Christian music, mixture of Hungarian and American bands. So
it's a fun atmosphere.
Yes, oh yeah, very much so. I mean, the kids love it. You can imagine in a long holiday, kids get bored, don't they? They want something arranged. And the kids are so polite, and they really are a joy to work with.
Yeah.
And we had the middle age group, so I did the Bible study based around the film of Pinocchio. If you can imagine trying to do a Bible study for 40 minutes with 60 children aged between 6 and 16.
Wow.
It's not the easiest thing I've ever tackled.
No.
But
about Pinocchio, with Pinocchio as your main theme.
Yeah. You show them the film and you pick out the main themes from it, from creation, free will, the fall, temptation, and to what makes him a real boy in the end, which is basically giving his life for others.
Yeah. A great idea.
Yeah, so it's all in there. It's not a perfect allegory, but as long as you explain it, you can get the message across, and with practical things, with illustrations, and
I think you mentioned as well earlier, Neil, that the kind of language teaching element is quite important to this work. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about that.
It is very important. I mean, that's the attraction for the kids coming to Britain, was to practice their English. For many of them, English is the second language. In some of them, it's German-based schools, and German is the second language. But if you go to university in Hungary, you need a certain level of English, because a lot of the tutors are imported, either from Britain or from America. So English is the language that they all want to learn. So as well as the Bible studies, Pam and I were can you imagine me, a Scouser, trying to teach somebody English?
It's all relative, Neil, isn't it?
I mean, yeah. So you've got all these Hungarian kids now speaking English with the Scouse accent.
I mean, what are the challenges, do you think, I get the impression this is an intensive work. It happens every year, it happens every summer, it happens across the year in orphanages and such like. And the focus, it seems to me, is what's happening now. The future seems quite uncertain for lots of reasons. So what challenges do you perceive?
This is a very small scale operation, so they depend entirely upon gifts, and that's why they are so grateful to the women's department and the money that they've raised through the mission rallies, because it means so much to them. Cornell has another job. He was a bus driver. He's now a delivery driver, one of the delivery companies. But they're very good with him. They let him go away and do his camps, so
Yeah.
they give him that time off. The main challenge for them is getting the people to go. They are reliant on Bible teachers going across and English teachers, particularly. Yeah. So they're always on the lookout, and it's why Pamela and I were going to go again this year, but it clashed with something else. So I'm very pleased that the Reverend Jonathan Hodgins is going this year, taking his son Ben out with him, I think. So yeah, the more people that they can get, the better.
So it's run on a shoestring.
Very much so.
Overwhelmingly dependent on volunteers.
Yes.
To deliver the ministry.
Yes.
In lots of ways.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, particularly the language issue. That's the main thing.
Yeah.
Is this need to learn English? It's not that those that go to English-based schools learn the theory of English, but what you're trying to do is encourage them to speak it, to practice it.
Okay. Yeah.
The first morning we were in, you'll laugh. I said to Pam, we'll find out where they're up to with their English.
Yeah.
And I chatted to this 8-year-old girl, and her English was wonderful, you know. Yeah. I said to her, where are you from? She said, Basildon. So, and Mum's Hungarian, so they'd gone over to Hungary for the summer, and she'd come to the camp. So the leader of the younger group quickly nabbed her and had her as a leader with the young kids, teaching them English.
Yeah. Wow.
But I quickly discovered that a lot of the kids had no English whatsoever. But the kids there are very good. They look after each other.
Yeah.
We noticed that when they came to this country, but particularly over there, if somebody doesn't understand, then somebody will explain to them. And we had a translator in the classes and for the Bible study, and we had 3 teenagers with each group to help out. Yeah. And this is a measure of the success. There's a dozen teenagers there helping out, and they are all kids who've come through the camps.
Gosh, wow.
And come to faith through the camps.
Kind of discipleship.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they want to come back and put something back into it.
Yeah.
So it works.
Yeah.
It's not revival, Gethin. It's not taking over the country.
It's better than revival because it's sustainable. By the
it's working.
Yeah.
It's working. It's changing people's lives, and it's, laying a foundation for the future, because, as you say, Hungary, because of its situation, the future is quite uncertain.
Well, I'm wondering as well, because, Wave Hope sits within the kind of the church scene in Hungary. So since the fall of communism in 1989, what does that look like? I mean, in terms of the freedom to worship and places of worship, how many people attend, would you say, churches?
Yes. Hungary originally was nominally Catholic. When communism took over, of course, it was suppressed. And I mean, the first thing that goes is nominalism. Yeah. It's only the people who have a personal, passionate relationship with Christ who can sustain that faith under oppression. But since the fall of communism, there has this big influx, particularly from the Baptist churches. A lot of evangelists have gone in, and a lot of sponsorship from America, and the Protestant churches are beginning to grow more. Again, as in this country, Pentecostal churches are quite popular. There are some big churches in the city. We went to a Calvary Baptist church in Budapest, which met in a cinema, and that was obviously very well attended. But a lot of Hungary is rural. It's very like Wales in that respect, so there's lots of little chapels, and if you can plant a seed in those, and that's what's happening. Yeah. So very slowly, very gradually, the Christian faith is growing.
So in terms of how we can pray for this work, Neil, what would be at the top of your list?
Obviously, the resources. They need those resources. Faithful people to support them and attend, and they're very much dependent on the transport. Minibuses don't last forever, so those kind of resources. But people, people to go there and to help out, because the more people that are prepared to go, the more camps they can run.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any shortage of demand.
Yeah.
And for the people involved, the local churches, for their witness, for Cornell and Ruth particularly, because so much falls upon them, for their health, that they can maintain this, that more and more churches will get together and support the work, that it can expand.
Yeah.
Because it works.
Yeah. Thank you, Neil.